Xavier Titelman, you're also invaluable in this story. The features of the Rafale. Explain to us with Marion Boucher what makes this aircraft so special.
Well, first of all, it's one of the aircraft that has the ability to detect its adversaries from the farthest distance possible. It has competed against Russian aircraft in India, South Korea, and Brazil. The Rafale has consistently outperformed all Russian aircraft shown, including fifth-generation models and the Sukhoi 35 with superior range and firing capability. It has infrared sensors that allow it to lock onto targets without even using its radar, which makes it invisible to the enemy. And then what's also interesting is that it can do everything. It can also carry out maritime bombing, it's a naval aircraft, and it's also an aircraft for land bombing. Its weapons are vastly superior to those of both Ukrainians and Russians.
When you look at the map of Ukraine, you understand from what you're saying that they'll be able to operate in the Black Sea, for example. They'll be able to operate deep within Russia.
Maybe not deep in Russian territory, since we have no interest in sending a Rafale there. If it's shot down, they'll recover some technology. Also, if the pilot must eject, it's better to do so over Ukrainian territory. But still, it's true that today, when the Ukrainians launch, for example, SCAL missiles, cruise missiles, they use Soviet Sukhoi 24 aircraft large machines detectable from afar. The Rafale will be able to get closer to its target to launch it, so the same missile will be able to hit 50, 70, even 80 kilometers farther than the same missile fired today by Soviet aircraft operated by the Ukrainians.
Will they be able to fire while staying in Ukrainian airspace but launch weapons inside Russia?
The 2023 debate has been settled. Ukrainians shot down Russian planes over Russian territory, both with Patriot defense systems and with the F-16, which, guided by a GSAB radar plane, was able to destroy a Sukhoi 35 over Russian territory. Should we now stop Ukrainians from doing what we permitted at the start of 2024, and why? No, that's already settled. The day they delivered Rafale. If the Russians start another war, Ukrainians can use them. We won't inform the Egyptians, Indians, etc. Your weapons are just above your territory. You're not allowed to use them against Pakistan. But no, we sell them weapons. They're free to use them. They're sovereign.
Yes, we don't manipulate the people we sell weapons to. We're not like the Americans who actually sell you F-35SS, but you can only use them in the coming month. And then turn right, but not turn left, because that's controlled by American computers. When we sell weapons, we do it consciously. We think about what we're doing. But after that, the powers can use these weapons as they see fit.
Let's get into the details, really. The confrontation against the Sukhoi. Explain to us Sukhoi versus Rafale. What happens?
The Sukhoi, including the latest Sukhoi 35, is a plane. They're older bar radars, electronic with passive antennas, while Rafale uses an active antenna. That means it sees farther with weaker waves, which means that not only can it see at a distance where the Russian plane won't see us, but also where the Russian plane isn't even able to detect us. There's a radar turned on facing it, giving it a double advantage in radar capability. That is, you put them face to face. Well, even before the Sukhoi 35 knows that a shot has been fired at it, it can't detect someone in front of it, it's destroyed. This only ensures air superiority and certainty for the Russians. Will be useless. That's a big advantage. It means that today, unfortunately, that's not the case. But if the Ukrainians already had 30 to 50 Rafales and Gripens today, the Russians would no longer be able to strike back. The 3,000 glide bombs sent monthly devastate cities. It's not artillery, but these bombs that cause the destruction. That's a major advantage. The Russian Air Force can't operate anymore. Next, regarding operational capability, the Sukhoi 35 is unable to carry out missions once it loses this capacity. Ultimately, the Rafale has superior range and infiltration ability. This is called the radar cross-section. These planes can be detected at varying distances. The Russian air defense was very strong. It was said to be the best in the world, but we were surprised it didn't meet expectations. We now know the Rafale can stay stealthy much longer than previously thought. It can also approach targets more effectively.
How effective is it against drones? Look at this short sequence, which is extremely revealing of the Rafale versus drone confrontation. Charlie Neural, our associate, filmed it.
In case of intrusion by Russian drones, they will have to be shot down. And it almost happened. 4 days ago, the Rafales were on alert. A Russian drone was approaching the Polish border. You can hear the crew's conversation.
We have weapons on board.
The Rafale readjusts the drone's search area.
It's usually given a little more
To the right.
If he had to shoot it down, the Rafale would have used missiles, not the cannon. Too dangerous for civilians.
If you have the drone here and the fighter jet behind, coming up right behind to shoot, when the drone is much smaller than the fighter jet, when the cannon fires, some shells may strike or explode near the drone and others could land close by.
Rafale versus drone. The face-off costs 10,000 euros for the Russian drone, 620,000 euros for the Rafale.
Indeed, we can see that when you shoot at small drones with big missiles, economically it's unsustainable because you burn out, like using a Patriot missile on a Shahed. Indeed, at the unit cost, it doesn't work for long. So indeed, that's a real issue. Instinctively, I would have said they'll take it down with the cannon, but I'm told no, they don't take it down with the cannon.
That's what they're doing in Ukraine, see? That's what...
They actually do anyway.
Because...
It's the weapons which are the most effective to fight drones that cost several tens of thousands of euros. If you fire a €1 million missile to shoot down a Shahed drone that's worth 50,000, you can see the kind of expense you're going to have.
Look at this image. These are the drones or glide bombs hitting the buildings. In this case, it's in several cities, mainly Munorad, which is near Pokrovsk. Xavier Tiedelman, is the Rafale effective? Is it operational? So
here we see a Shahed flying toward a building when a faster missile intercepts it from behind. It's definitely a missile, either launched from the ground and returning or fired by a plane. So yes, to intercept a Shahed or a cruise missile, we can use the missiles that are used by the Rafale, but as we said, it's costly and only temporary. A solution is being developed. It's not missiles, but rocket pods, which was recently presented at the last Paris Air Show. The Rafale would carry a pod with 9 laser-guided rockets developed by Thales in Belgium. And you have, especially in the two-seater Mirage 2000D, which Marion Boucher mentioned earlier, in those planes you have 2 people. In the back, the navigator, the weapon systems officer, will designate and illuminate a missile with a laser and the pilot will fire. And there's one of those 9 rockets, and here we're under 20,000 euros. So we divide the cost of intercepting a Shahed by 30 compared to what's shown here.
plane against plane, plane against drone, or plane against bomb, and then the ground support for the fighters. Watch this sequence.
And here too, we'll ask you the question, could the Rafales actually help the Ukrainian soldiers?
That's how a real Tiger operates. First the drones, then the infantry. I'm attacking. You're going to hear BAM now.
I'm not going to drink.
Surrender. Come on, get closer. Surrender, damn it. Who threw a grenade? He did. One.
There you go. You must have noticed the extreme elegance of our colleague Abel, who handled the sound and said, "Good grief." And I'm not sure the original is "good grief, my God," nor "old blood, blue blood." No, I don't think those are the Ukrainian words. Here, can a Rafale help? So,
like other Soviet planes still in use today, such as the Sukhoi 25S, it can perform bombing missions by dropping bombs from a distance. For example, France provides around 100 highly effective hammer bombs to 2SM monthly. They can be launched from 70 kilometers away. So the Rafale won't bring added value in this particular area, except for one specific aspect, that's laser designation. When you're in environments where things are moving, you have a laser designator. So as I was saying earlier, a Rafale with its pointer will designate a target, even a moving vehicle, and another Rafale or even itself can launch its bomb, and that bomb will be guided to a specific target. In cities or forests with low visibility, a fighter jet can provide what's known as close air support. And then they arrive and they fire their cannons very, very hard towards the ground. The A-10 is the ideal plane for that, but Ukraine's front has such dense air defenses that you can't get within 30 kilometers of it. So that's not really realistic. And
so all of that doesn't work in close combat. When you're at 2098 feet, I mean, the risks of collateral damage, of blue-on-blue fire, as we say, of friendly fire, are very high. It's the same in urban combat when you see them moving from house to house or building to building. Being too close just doesn't work. It works well when you designate a target, when the lines are clearly separated, and at that point, if there's 200 meters, you can fire effectively. Indeed, in that case, I wouldn't recommend, especially with no visibility, dropping a bomb, and it could hit our friends, which isn't what we want.
A few additional details. First, the gusts, in principle, won't last. Paid for by the French taxpayer as shown in Russian propaganda, the goal is to do exactly as the Swedes announced with the Gripen. First, to use the frozen Russian assets. There are 200 billion euros in Europe. Either use them directly, as France and Maine now want to do, or use the dividends from these assets as we are already doing today. We take a 15 billion loan to buy Rafales immediately. But this loan will be repaid over many years, thanks to the dividends from the frozen Russian assets, 300 billion, that are currently distributed among different countries. Then the second point is the time it will take for these planes to arrive. We can hope to have the first ones within 2 or 3 years. Rafale production is rising, with up to 6 jets expected monthly in the coming years. Not to mention the production line that could be created in India if the Indians also bought around 100 Rafales. And so, we might also have the possibility perhaps to consider countries like Indonesia. We could produce them in India instead of France. This would let us increase production capacity and build these planes faster. However, I just received some recent information. The Ukrainians are waiting for the Gripen, which are Swedish planes that are almost the equivalent of the Rafale. It's not quite as good in reality, but it's still a super plane and far better than the Sukhoi 35. See the video where I discussed this. These planes are expected to arrive by year-end or early 2026. Now the question is if these planes will also get the Meteor missiles I mentioned, which let you strike from a very long distance. And basically they would force the Russians to reconsider their doctrine of using air power, especially for glide bombs. And for that, of course, the planes are superior. Missiles can achieve this goal, but will they have enough of them? You need at least 30 to 50 at a minimum to be able to carry out patrols and intercept planes that arrive in a relatively unexpected way. And that's really a question of numbers. So the Rafale will come a little later, but the Gripens will be here in the coming months. In principle, they'll be able to start doing this job, and then the question is about numbers. Once they have enough numbers, it will truly deter the Russians from starting another war in a few years. That's the point. The goal is to avoid collapse, win the war, save our friends, and then prevent it from happening again. The goal of these announcements is to avoid escalation. I'll talk to you soon.